Alright everyone, well, I'm back from my dinner break, and now time to talk about the last episode I'll be looking at today, which is The Return of the Archons, which, again, as I said before, sounds weird because we never met them before, so yeah. But anyway, let's get things started. On Stardate 3156.2, the Federation starship USS Enterprise, under the command of Captain James T. Kirk, arrives at the planet Beta 3 in the C-111 system, where the USS Archon was reported lost nearly 100 years earlier. Lieutenant Sulu is the only member of the landing party who beams up from the planet's surface and exhibits strange behavior. Kirk beams down with another party to investigate. They find the inhabitants living in a static 19th century Earth-style culture, with little or no individual expression or creativity. The entire culture is ruled over by cloaked and cowled lawgivers, controlled by a reclusive dictator known as Landru. The landing party has arrived at the start of the festival, a period of violence, destruction, and sexual aggressiveness, which apparently is the only time Landru does not exercise control over the Baden populace. Kirk's landing party seeks shelter from the mob at a boarding house owned by Redger. A friend of Redger's suspects that the visitors are not of the body, the whole of the Baden society, and summon lawgivers. The lawgivers kill Rager's friend Tamar for assisting the will of Landru. When the landing party refuses to do as the lawgivers say, the lawgivers become immobile, and Rager leads the Enterprise landing team to a hiding place. Rager reveals that Landru pulled the Archons down from the skies. Contacting the ship, Kirk learns that heat beams from the planet are attacking the Enterprise, which must use all its power for its shields. Its orbit is deteriorating, and it will crash in 12 hours unless the beams are turned off. A projection of Landru appears in the hiding place, and Kirk and his team are rendered unconscious by ultrasonic waves, then captured. The landing party is imprisoned in a dungeon, and Dr. Leonard McCoy is absorbed into the body and placed under Landru's mental control. Kirk is taken to a chamber full of high technology, ready to be absorbed. But Marplon, one of the priests of Landru, who is immune to Landru's control, rescues him and Spock. Returning to the dungeon, Roger and Marplon tell how Landru saved their society from war and anarchy 6,000 years ago, and reduce the planet's technology to a simpler level. McCoy summons the lawgivers to absorb Kirk and Spock, who subdue them and don their robes. Marplon takes Kirk and Spock to the Hall of Audiences, where priests commune with Landru. A projection of Landru appears and threatens Kirk, Spock, and all Badens who saw the landing party with death. And threatens Kirk, Spock, and all Badens who saw the landing party with death. Okay. Kirk and Spock use their phasers to blast through the wall and expose the truth. The reclusive Landru is actually a computer, and Landru, who built the machine, had died 6,000 years ago. The computer neutralizes their phasers. Kirk argues with the machine, telling it that it has destroyed the creativity of the people, killing the body. Concluding that the computer's prime directive is to destroy evil, Kirk forces the computer to self-destruct, freeing the people of Beta 3. The heat beams stop, and the Enterprise is saved. Kirk agrees to lead Federation advisors and educators on the planet to help the civilization advance, free Landru's dominance. While considering the fact that that was the same thing he decided to do in Miri, I hope it's going to work out the same here. Anyway, let's look at the production elements of this story, shall we? The episode was written by Boris Sobelman, based on a story by Gene Roddenberry. The episode was directed by Joseph Pevney. The name of the Earthship, which crashed a century earlier, was named Archon, after a student group Roddenberry belonged to, called the Archons. Star Trek The Next Generation graphic designer Michael Okuda et al. Speculate that the Archon is most likely a Daedalus-class starship, given its existence at the same in-universe time frame of other Daedalus-class ships mentioned in the series. The Return of the Archons was the first appearance of Star Trek director Charles McCauley. He later appeared as Jarrus, ruler of Argolis II, in the second season episode Wolf in the Fold. This was actor John Lomer's second appearance in Trek. He previously appeared as Dr. Theodore Haskins in the episode The Menagerie, and will make a third appearance as an unnamed old man in the third season episode For the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. David L. Ross made his third appearance on Star Trek in this episode, having appeared as a security guard in the first season episode Miri, and as a transporter chief in the Galileo 7. He received his first speaking role as Lieutenant Johnson in the second season episode The Trouble with Tribbles, and appeared in another speaking role as Lieutenant Galloway in the second season episode The Omega Glory. Current director Sid Haig has an uncredited role as one of the hooded lawgivers who first confront the landing party in Rhaegar's boarding house. The Return of the Archons introduces for the first time the Federation's Prime Directive. However, an important modification is made to the absolutist non-interference rule almost immediately. Kirk argues that the Prime Directive does not bar interference with other cultures, but rather bars interference only with a living and growing culture, Kirk words in the episode. Scholar Eric Green argues this is reflective of the frontier myth of Star Trek and American foreign policy in the late 20th century, in which a superior culture expands to impose its understanding of freedom and progress on others. M. Keith Booker, interpreting the politics of Star Trek, agrees, noting that in leaving behind a sociological team to help restore the planet's culture to a more human form, Kirk's words, means restoring it to one that suits the values of the Federation and 23rd century Earth. Indeed, the Prime Directive would only truly be honored during the series in the episode Bread and Circuses. This episode is unique in several ways. As the only time that episode's cold open fades out on a close-up of actor George Takei, and it's the first time that Lieutenant Commander Montgomery Scott, played by James Doohan, is seen in command of the ship. It's also the first Star Trek episode in which Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and their landing party are deliberately disguised in the dress of the native population. Location shooting for Return of the Archons occurred on the 40 acres backlot in Culver City, California. The streets scenes were part of the town of Atlanta, a set which consists of a mid-1800s city street, a town square, and a residential area, originally constructed for the motion picture King Kong in 1933 and expanded for Gone with the Wind in 1939. The dungeon set was first constructed for this episode and reused in the first season episode Errand of Mercy and the second season episode Cat's Paw. Marklon's absorption booth console was also reused several times in the series. It reappeared in modifications as a relay station in the second season episode I Mud, as the Federation Outpost control panel in the third season episode The Lights of Zetar, the Romulan cloaking device housing in the third season episode The Enterprise Incident, and as a force field control station at the penal colony Elba 2 in the third season episode Whom Gods Destroy. The Computer of the World Beta 3 would be seen again, slightly modified, in the first season episode A Taste of Armageddon. Doors to the Hall of Audiences were reused the doors previously seen in the episode What Are Little Girls Made Of? It will be reused yet again in A Taste of Armageddon. The episode contains two obvious errors. When the festival breaks out, the mob begins hurling stones at the landing party. A large rock made of papier-mâché hits one of the Enterprise security personnel in the head. The actor stayed in character and kept running to ensure that the take was not ruined, even though a stone of that size would normally have killed a human being. When the landing party rests in a bedroom at Rhaegar's boarding house, the windows are blacked out in all wide shots, with clear, transparent, and showing the street outside in all close-ups. The episode contains a continuity error. In the cold open, the lawgivers absorb Mr. Sula by zapping him with their tubes. Yet, later in the episode, the absorption chamber is used and lawgivers seem unable to absorb with their tubes. That's weird. The episode is also the foundation for a continuity error that appears 24 years later in the series Star Trek The Next Generation. Mr. Scott clearly states in The Return of the Archons that he has diverted power from the Enterprise warp engines to the shields. Scotty does so again in the episode The Changeling, yet in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode The Nth Degree, the Enterprise crew is amazed that Lieutenant Reginald Barclay can do this. Yeah, that is pretty weird, isn't it? So, a very solid story with a solid ending. I give The Return of the Archons 4 warp cores out of 5. Well, that's all for today. Tomorrow we continue our look at the original series with an episode that laid the foundation for the best Star Trek movie of all time. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.